Hello, Tomlin from Tomlin Harmonica School here, and welcome to today's episode where I'll be answering the question, are you too old to learn harmonica? And the reason I'm answering this question is that I get tons of emails and I get tons of comments on my YouTube videos saying, I think I'm too old to start learning, I wish I hadn't left it so late, all that kind of thing. So I want to answer that question, are you too old to learn harmonica? And I'm going to answer it like this and tell you that actually most of my students do start harmonica later in life. In fact, 68% of my students are over the age of 55, and 11% of my students are over the age of 75. So, there's no time like the present to start learning harmonica. And what I thought I would do is I would get some of my students to give you some tips for learning harmonica later in life so that you don't feel like you're doing it alone. So the first tip comes from Nick, who says, try not to feel time pressure. We may not accrue decades of experience, but very beautiful music can be made very simply. Less can be more. I think a lot of people have this preconception that if you want to be a musician, if you want to learn music, you have to start when you're a very, very small child, and that's the only way to get proficient. When we think about all of the child prodigies out there, the famous musicians who started playing violin when they were 3 years old or whatever, and it's simply not true. You can start whenever, as long as you're enthusiastic about learning, then that's it. That's the most important thing. It's not about reaching this specific endpoint where you achieve mastery. In fact, we've all discovered that this is cheesy, but it's all about the journey. It's all about spending time enjoying, practicing, and enjoying getting better at whatever speed you get better. I still practice every day as much as I can, which is sometimes difficult with two small children. But I practice as much as I can, even if it's just 5 minutes, just so that I can keep pushing forward. And I'm just delighted that I'm still discovering new things about the instrument, even though I've been playing it for almost 20 years, not quite, almost 20 years. So yeah. Next tip is from Frank. Frank says, I know music is a really good brain gym. So when I'm struggling and sometimes feel that my 62-year-old brain is too inelastic to learn this new stuff, I tell myself how much good it's doing to just be trying. I think that's a great point, Frank. We think about an end point where we're supposed to get great and that's it. But actually, it's just the action of doing it is great for your cognitive ability, and it keeps you engaged and interested. And learning new things is always good, and it's important to keep learning new stuff throughout your entire life. So great tip from Frank there. The next good tip is from Carl, who says, an older learner may find it more difficult to control their tongue. Don't overdo bending practice when it starts to get sloppy. Take a break and let the muscles recover. All right, that is an excellent tip from Carl. And I'd say that that's not just a tip for older learners. We all need to realize that practicing with tired muscles isn't actually that beneficial. So when you get tired, take a break, let yourself recover, and then come back when you are fresh. Also, you'll discover that a lot of practice goes on subconsciously in your brain. So if you've spent some time practicing during the day and you got tired and you put the harmonica down, at night when you sleep, your brain will be consolidating what you've been working on. And that's a reason why you might discover in your practice that during the practice session, you don't feel like you're improving, but then the next day or the next week, you'll think, oh, I have gotten better. And that's because there's been a consolidation phase that's important. All right, so if you want to learn to play blues harmonica or simply want to get better, you should check out my online harmonica school, where I have a step-by-step curriculum all the way from complete beginner to advanced intermediate, which is laid out in an easy to follow kind of curriculum of bite-sized lessons. You know exactly what you need to be working on to keep improving. Plus, you get access to a world-class faculty of teachers who'll provide feedback on your recordings, as well as a community of students to provide support and accountability. The school provides everything you need to get better at blues harmonica at a pace that is comfortable for you. And the best thing is that you can try the school out for free with a 14-day trial before you commit to an annual subscription. Just click on the link in the show notes below. All right, so our next tip is from Tim, who said, I was really surprised to find so many others out there, or in here, that's in the school, that are in the same boat as myself, trying to learn this very intriguing little instrument in retirement, or at least in the later years of life. I find myself sometimes getting frustrated with not being able to play as well as I wish I could, and then I realize I'm only a beginner. I find that realizing that makes it easier for me to slow down and enjoy my learning adventure. Absolutely. You know, it's not a race, it's a marathon, and it's all about enjoying the process. So that's a great tip from Tim. And this goes nicely into Matt's tip, which is, as adults, we're used to being good at things, but it's okay to practice really simple exercises and make mistakes. I wholeheartedly agree, and this is one of those things that really upsets me kind of when I look at my kids who at the moment of recording this, they're 2 and 4, and they don't mind about making mistakes. So they keep trying things over and over and over, and they fall over and over, and they make mistakes when they're speaking and when they're trying to do whatever. And it doesn't bother them. And that's brilliant. And that's why they're improving so quickly at everything that they try to do. And as adult learners, we've kind of forgotten how to make mistakes. We have become fearful of making mistakes. So if you can try and relearn and re-embrace making mistakes and not being worried about any kind of bad outcome that might come from making mistakes, you'll actually improve a lot faster. So next tip from Nigel follows on nicely. Don't beat yourself up when things go wrong. Put the harmonica down for 15 minutes, then go back and learn to play what's troubling you. Absolutely. Take loads of breaks. It's not about sitting down for 3 hours solidly and practicing. It's just about practicing for as long as you can remain focused. And that might just be a minute. It might be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Personally, I only practice for 25 minutes at a time before I take a little break, because that's all I can manage while maintaining focus. All right, so next tip from John is be happy with small achievements. To assess your improvement, don't look back to last week or last month. Look back in 6 or 12-month blocks. See what you were playing then. Remember how hard it was and how easy it looks now. That is excellent advice, John. Think about things on a longer term basis. And I know sometimes, I've heard from older learners that they don't think that they can think on a longer term basis. They think that, they're approaching the later years of their lives and they can't look forward very far. But you could either be practicing and learning harmonica now and live for another 5, 10, 15, 20, who knows how many years, or you could just not do it and regret that. Don't regret it. Don't regret learning harmonica. You've got to give it a go. Next tip from Michael is don't compare yourself to others. This is your journey. And this is so important to remember. A lot of us started learning instruments because we looked up to people who were great and we wanted to play as well as them. And so when we don't play as well as them or we don't improve as quickly as they do, we're disappointed in ourselves. And I totally get that because I have loads of heroes that I compare myself to. But we shouldn't. We should just see that we're enjoying the process. We're learning how to get better at whatever pace we can manage. That's so important. And now, the final and most important rule that came from 3 of my students, Rhonda, Larry, and Sharon, is remember to have fun. If you don't feel like playing, play anyway. And I'll add a little addendum to that, which is, remember the word that we use. We use the word play. And that's what a musical instrument should be. We should play a musical instrument, not work it. So discover that. As an older learner, it's important and it's great to play. And that helps you to have fun. And it doesn't matter how quickly or slowly you improve, as long as you're enjoying the process. Learn to love the process and not try and strive only for some end point where you, I'm using air quotes here if you're just listening, achieve mastery. Because we're all still striving for that end point. And that's not the purpose. It's about enjoying playing, enjoying the journey. All right, thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave a rating and a review on your podcast player of choice. It really helps me to teach a larger audience. All right, happy harping.